Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney at the R&R Law Group, located in the always beautiful and sunny Scottsdale, Arizona. And today, my friends, we're talking about the word promise. We're digging in to Kevin McCarthy. Hand up, says Scout's Honor. I promise I'm not going to screw you all. And we're going to go through that today. Of course, over the weekend, there was a new speaker who took the gavel. Kevin McCarthy, he squeaked it on through, and we wrapped up the show on Friday, and it hadn't been settled yet, but, you know, as these things go, the Friday night drops happen. Kevin McCarthy is the new speaker, but there's a lot of fun things to unpack there, and so we're going to do some of that today. First, we'll do a recap of the election, and we'll see, you know, what actually happened. We'll go through, memorialize this. There was the swearing in, you know, they promised a bunch of things that we all like, you know, to adhere to the Constitution. We'll see how long that lasts. But they're there, and they all took the oath. We have Kevin McCarthy, a couple clips from him. And you may have heard from, you know, from inside the bowels of Congress that there was a face grab. Look at this. Remember this? This guy got his face literally grabbed, which is a totally lame move. Now, the question was, what was that guy doing? And what prompted the face grab? You know, was it deserved? Probably not. It's never really deserved to do that to another man, but he did. And so we'll have to see if there was any justification for it. Kevin McCarthy was asked about this, said, hey, Kevin, what happened over there? What's going on? What's going on in your Congress, buddy? And he explained it. And they also brought him out, right? Representative Davidson is this guy with the hair. And he explained himself. And so we're going to be able to put a nice bow on this and just button the whole thing up and move on in unity. What a beautiful thing. Chip Roy was out. He said there's a lot of necessary conflict here, so everybody just calm down. Not a big deal at all. Everything's going to be fine. Mom and dad are going to get along. Crenshaw came out. He was talking about having heartburn in addition to some other problems. Matt Gaetz was also telling us about his new endorsement of the speaker. He's very excited as well. It says, long live the speaker. And we've got Scalia, who is one of my, maybe my most favorite of judges, former judges, rest in peace. He was sharing a very interesting clip about gridlock and why gridlock is a good thing and why we need it. So we'll talk about that today, all in the first segment. Then the Republicans are getting into some serious heavy lifting today. The new agenda is out, and we'll take a look at this. You can see the week of January 9th. That's this week. There's a bunch of stuff. We've got House Resolution 12, House Resolution 11, Family and Small Business Taxpayer Protection Act. What does all this stuff do? Well, if you take a look here, we can see that Kevin McCarthy commented on two things that we are going to dive into. The first being, he said his first action as Speaker was going to be start repealing those 87,000 IRS agents. Excellent news. We're all happy about that. The bill has been submitted, very short one. We'll take a look at that. Then we'll also go back to another clip of McCarthy where he's telling us about the new committee, which I'm excited about. I mean, this is like Christmas in January. It's amazing. We're going to have our own committee, baby. Evidently, we'll see what happens after tonight. But the Weaponization of Government Committee, supposedly going to be led by Jim Jordan, is targeting big tech and asking ourselves why the feds are coming after all of us benevolent little citizens. And then, of course, we'll take a look at the official rules that the House is debating. And you can see we have a purple-haired individual who is talking right now in the actual C-SPAN forum. Now, she has left. I don't know where the purple-haired woman went. I don't really know who that was or what she was doing in Congress. But let's see if we can listen in.
Washington's recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Later this evening, my colleague and friend, Congresswoman DeLauro, will offer a motion to add the expanded child tax credit to the rules package. This gives us an opportunity to start the 118th Congress on the right foot. Instead of focusing on an extremist agenda, we can advance a proven solution to an issue that impacts every community in our country. Childhood poverty.
Childhood poverty.
The U.S. shamefully has one of the highest rates of childhood poverty in the developed world.
All right, so, all right, they're still debating a bunch of stuff down there. Now, we'll catch up. We'll see, you know, where they're at in a little bit more time. But that's what's going on down there at the bottom. We've got Congress that'll be following us along. A little bit of a picture-in-picture. And if we see any more purple-haired monsters rummaging around Congress, we'll dive in. Then in our final segment, we'll go through and we'll talk about the Twitter Files 12. You know, I'm a little irritated with these, but we'll go through them. They're Twitter Files 12. They came out from Alex Berenson. Now, he really didn't post a Twitter thread at all. He just said, why don't you come over to my Substack and read it there? So we'll go through it. Now, because it's talking a lot of COVID, we are going to drop off the YouTubes and the Facebooks, and we're going to stick only to Locals and Rumble and Twitter. And so we've already been chatting away over there on Locals, over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. An amazing community over there chatting away. I see Savvy Sue's in the house, Aggie Martin, C. Reed. We've got Paul Minot is over there. Shout out to Paul. John McGarvey. We had an awesome movie discussion last night on our members-only community. A lot of fun. And we have member-only streams. We did one this morning, as a matter of fact. Also, don't forget to check out our sponsors. I am very happy to announce that Goldco is back. My goodness. In fact, they never even left. It was just a little bit of a miscommunication on the end of yours truly. But Robert does like gold. I never stopped liking it. I've always liked it. Now it's just officially back on the mind map. RobertLikesGold.com. Protect your savings with gold. And don't forget also to check out our friends over at ForPatriots.com. Use code Robert to get 10% off anything in the store at ForPatriots.com. And nobody wants to starve to death or freeze to death without survival gear. So go make sure you get that. And lastly, before we jump in, my law firm, the R&R Law Group, rrlawaz.com. We help good people charged with crimes find safety, clarity, and hope. We help good people in Arizona. So if you know anybody, our law firm can and will help. All right. Now, without any further ado, let's get into the content of the day. Get right into the program. McCarthy gets his gavel. Isn't that convenient? Late on Friday night, it all just came together. While the rest of America said, oh, we're done working for the week, we're going to take the night off, Congress pushed it through. Kevin McCarthy's got the gavel. You see him looking there, nice and proud of it. He's like, I'm just going to bang this thing hard and we're going to get some stuff done. Well, we'll see. A lot of promises came from the Republicans and we'll see if they're able to keep any of it. But we are going to go through what happened, including talking about this mouth grab incident, because look at this. I mean, what a joke. What kind of a man grabs another man like that right across the mouth? Not even, like the chin, right across the mouth. Look at that. Repeatedly grabbing it. Shameful. So we have to get to the bottom of what actually happened here. McCarthy commented on it. Representative Davidson, the guy who got assaulted, on his mouth, a mouth assault, he also commented on that as well. We've also got reaction from Crenshaw. He's like, man, I've got a lot of heartburn here, in addition to some other ailments that he suffers from. Chip Roy was explaining this was all extremely necessary. We've got clips from Matt Gaetz and Scalia. You remember Scalia, rest in peace, former Supreme Court judge. He says, gridlock is amazing. And we're going to get to all of those clips. But first, let's go through and listen to what actually happened in the House of Representatives. Late on Friday night, the rest of us are all living our lives in peace and harmony. Congress is rummaging around, and they're trying to get a new speaker.
Thank the Speaker. I rise in opposition to the rules and the rules package. In particular, I support the Women's Health Protection Act, so women seek...
California has received 216.
Here it is. Kevin McCarthy, Speaker of the House. Oh, isn't that nice? We did it. Yeah. Hey.
The Honorable Hakeem Jeffries of the state of New York has received 212.
There's Hakeem, the election denier, multiple times denying elections.
With 6 recorded as present. Therefore, the Honorable Kevin McCarthy of the state of California, having received a majority of the votes cast, is duly elected Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Oh, man. You're kidding me. Well, it was pretty much a foregone conclusion, right? And it's much better than the alternative. I mean, I like Kevin better than Nancy. We'll see how he does. And we're going to get into it. A lot of victories for the Republicans, for the conservatives. We're going to go through that all here in a minute. Democrats are cringing. Stop! Stop! All right, so that's the new speaker. That is what actually happened in Congress, and a very gratuitous pause there for Kevin McCarthy. Quick pause on this. Shout out to Red One, who just gifted 5 memberships over on YouTube. It's very generous of you, Red One. Thank you for doing that. We've got 5 new members. Welcome to the membership community. So you get access to those morning member streams and so on. But that is Kevin McCarthy, and of course, he is the new Speaker of the House of Representatives. Isn't that just a thing? And so after he got the gavel, he went over there and he gave a little bit of a speech, but he also had the extremely important responsibility of swearing in all of the individuals, all of the other congresspeople who are going to promise to do a great job and protect our rights.
According to the President, the chair will swear in the members-elect en masse. The members-elect will rise. The chair will now administer the oath of the office. All members-elect will raise their right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that you take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which you are about to enter, so help you God. Congratulations. You are now members of the 118th Congress.
Yay, great. Wonderful. Grand. Awesome. Oh, gosh. Now, did you like what C-SPAN did this whole time? They kept the camera right on Santos, who's standing right next to Gaetz. Are they trying to do like a little guilt by association thing there or something? I think that it might be that. And I can't tell, but probably. Now, there's another clip of Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy is there explaining his position in a new speech, and here's what he had to say for us. What is Kevin McCarthy going to do with the gavel?
As Speaker of the House, my ultimate responsibility is not to my party, my conference, or even our Congress. My responsibility, our responsibility, is to our country.
Yeah, I hope so. I think so too.
Two months ago, you voted for a new direction for our country. You embraced our commitment to America. And now we're going to keep our commitment to you.
You better, buddy boy. You better. We're all watching you. You've got a lot of promises to keep, and so we're going to go through some of those. There was a big question, of course, about the mouth grab incident, and we're going to take a quick look at this summation here because C-SPAN caught the full 2 minutes of this puppy. You can see here 1 minute and 48 seconds. We are in the final hours of the counting of the votes. McCarthy's at 2:15. Jeffries is at 2:11. Others are at 4. Present is at 2. My goodness. We're just at the end of the line here, the end of the game. Everybody's at boiling point. The whole Congress is turning into a pressure cooker. It's about to explode. Let's see what happens from deep within the halls of the House of Representatives. Kevin McCarthy approaches. Little conversation here. Now we'll pull myself off the screen. You see Matt Gaetz is hiding behind the present two there. A little conversation back and forth. McCarthy leans in. Crowd boos a little bit. Some moans and groans. McCarthy Backs up. Gaetz is shaking his head. Little left finger pointing at the bench. Camera zooms out. Okay, we're getting a little bit contentious now with 40 seconds in. Now, the victim of the face crime has not made his way onto the screen yet. Lauren Boebert is also to the right, to Matt Gaetz is left. We see Mr. Bowtie coming across. He's wedging his way in, pretty provocative, tells everybody, shut up. You're getting too loud here in the House. More people are making their way down the hall. McCarthy's still exchanging words. Gaetz is not even looking at him. Eye contact. Oh, now he turns his head, makes contact. Now we get Mr. Davidson. He turns the corner. He's coming in hot, very quick. He says, all right, that's it, buddy boy. And then the face grab. Oh, no, and we're off the screen. Oh, man. And it's just all coming down, out of control. It's turned into absolute madness. The face grab heard around Congress. Oh my gosh. All right, so we're going to have to just rewind that a bit. Here you can see, look at this guy. He comes barreling around the corner. Who does he think he is? Watch this around the top corner here. Here, watch this. He comes barreling around. Boom. Follow the red. Here he is. All right, enough, everybody. I'm going to settle this. And then, here it comes. Here it comes. Watch. Left hand right around the mouth. This is totally inappropriate. Now, for gentlemen out there who like to, sometimes get into scuffles in a little bit, there's so many other things you can grab. Shoulders. I mean, here, he's got a necktie on, literally. You could grab a collar if you wanted to, You could grab a belt. You could grab a hip, shoulder, underhook the arms, anything. But a face grab? All right, like that is just like insulting. Here, let's watch. Oh, man, it's gone. He just got him right across the face. I can't even take it. Oh, it's brutal. You can see it behind the imagery there. Now, that's how the rest of this ended, and, it's absolute madness. All right, so that is the scene, and you see it right there in sort of up close. I mean, it's just really, really, it's literally in your face, in your mouth. Totally inappropriate. Now, we're going to talk about, of course, what happened, and Kevin McCarthy is going to explain what happened there. And we're also going to hear from Mr. Davidson himself, the man who got his face assaulted. But first, let's just pause and talk about Goldco, my friends, because this is our new sponsor. They're back. Remember, robertlikesgold.com. And for some time, we thought that maybe they weren't a sponsor of the program, but of course they are. And they're back because Robert likes gold. And did you know that you can go to robertlikesgold.com and get your free 2023, it's new year, so you get a new kit for Gold IRA. And this is what many Americans can use to protect their retirement savings. Very simple. You just fill out this little form. It's a free kit. They'll send it over to you. They'll talk to you about $10,000 in free silver. It's amazing. Free shipping, access to all sorts of information. You've got tax-free, penalty-free adjustments, and your retirement savings can grow. We all know the U.S. dollar is in the toilet. Look at all these great reviews. Forrest says, Goldco made this transaction easier than I ever imagined it would be. Thanks again to the great people at Goldco for helping me get into precious metals. Keep up the good work for your clients, me included. Beautiful message from Forrest. And so go on over to robertlikesgold.com and get your free gold kit today, my friends. Great sponsor of the show. We're glad to have them back. Now that we know what happened, the face grab heard around the world, many people are asking McCarthy, hey, what the heck happened there with the face grab? Are you embarrassed as we are for what happened there?
Walk through what happened on the floor here. Heading into the 14th ballot, you thought you had the votes. Suddenly you were surprised. There was a heated confrontation on the floor. You had an exchange with Matt Gaetz. What happened?
It wasn't a heated one between Matt and I, no.
No, friendly.
What I was telling him is I'd rather win on the 15th. So we went to another ballot. That was a joke, but you didn't catch it. No, what happened was it became a tie. And I really think Matt had talked to me before. Matt really wanted to get everybody there. And so Look, through all of this, people's emotions go up and down. And at the end of the night, Matt got everybody there from the point that nobody voted against him.
That's right.
So it actually helped unite people.
But what changed?
It was very unifying, and as we've talked about, right, you want to get the iron out the rub. Is that the phrase? Iron out the problems in the agreement before you enter into the agreement. Right? You sort of negotiate the contractual terms before you enter into the contract, generally speaking. And so they're saying, look, everything worked out fine. The face grab is just it's old news. I don't even remember the face grab. In fact, why don't we just let bygones be bygones? Here is Rep. Davidson. Davidson was the man who got his face grabbed, embarrassingly, in Congress. And he was asked about this on Newsmax. What the heck happened here, Congressman?
Well, Mike Rogers kind of lost his cool before we started voting for speaker on Monday or Tuesday, and that probably flipped 5 or 6 votes. And so on top of this, it really has been a loss of self-control that I think a lot of people in the conference say that's not really acceptable. I don't know whether Mike has worked things out with Matt or others, but I have heard that he does plan to step down as a member of the steering committee, which is frankly a position he threatened to use in a retaliatory way, not just against Matt Gaetz, but against anyone who would not support Kevin. Yeah. So I think that'll go a little ways towards healing some of the wounds, the collateral damage that's been caused by this debate.
Sir, have you recovered from that face grab? Did you do something manly after that? Like go to a monster truck rally or go skydiving or something? Did you reclaim your manliness? Did you beat the crap out of that guy for grabbing your face? We sure hope so. All right, so it's not even a big deal. The whole thing's over. Not a big deal. Everybody was just a little bit, over eager. It just got out of control. Now, this is actually not a, necessarily a bad thing, as we're going to see next. But do you remember there's all sorts of historical examples of this back in the 1800s, where senators were literally beating each other, like caning each other with their canes in Congress because of what they said. They said, "How dare you impugn my honor, sir? Enjoy the cane," repeatedly until you're unconscious on the ground. There was one incident where a congressperson evidently was unconscious on the floor of Congress. Forgot to look it up, but maybe we'll do that another time. But this is it. It's just a little bit of, congressional, face grabbing. Not a big deal. All right. So as we move on, we see a lot of reaction to the conflict on the floor of Congress. Some people saying this is a necessary conflict, right? We need to iron this stuff out before we form a government in the House of Representatives. Chip Roy says, everybody just calm down, all right? Not that big of a deal. We got a speaker. We had to go through some of this mess in order to get there, but we're better for it.
Well, first of all, let's remember that a little temporary conflict is necessary in this town in order to stop this town from rolling over the American people. I don't think anybody on either side of the aisle could say with a straight face that they think that Washington is doing good work for the American people on a regular basis and isn't broken. We have to work to fix this place. And look, some of the tensions you saw on display when we saw some of the, the interactions there between Mike Rogers and Matt Gaetz, some of that is, we need a little of that. We need a little of this sort of breaking the glass in order to get us to the table, in order to fight for the American people and to change the way this place is dysfunctional.
That's the point, right? We have an adversarial system in many ways. Remember, all separate but equal. The co-equal branches, one of the things they need to do is sort of elbow around against each other, right? The House, in this case, the legislative branch versus the executive branch versus the judicial branch. The same thing happens within the branches themselves. Within Congress, you've got this little speed bump in between the congressional gears. You've got a House and a Senate. It complicates things. Then within the House, you've got a bunch of different subcommittees and so on and so forth. The speed bumps in the governmental gears are by design. They're a feature, not a bug. And Chip Roy is communicating that. Many people on the left, though, They don't like people who are dissenters. They want everything to run smoothly. They are central planners. They can handle it typically with 250 people in the House of Representatives. They just need, Nancy Pelosi, and she can sort of whip everybody into shape. When they try to extrapolate that to the rest of the world and the American economy, everything comes crashing down and everything turns into a disaster. That being said, they want uniformity. They want to censor people who question them. They want everybody to just agree. For people who claim they're very diverse, they all act very much the same. So they are looking at what the Republicans have done, and they say that what they have done is outrageous. It's conflict, and it's like a second insurrection, and it's unbelievable that they are even capable of waking up with all of that continual anxiety, just insurrection after insurrection after insurrection. All right, so we've got Chip Roy says this is necessary. Another so-called Republican is named Dan Crenshaw, and he is very unhappy with this. Crenshaw says that this is not needed in Washington. In fact, we should have gotten this over a long time ago. And anybody who was creating speed bumps in our process is a terrorist.
And I believe him when he says he was trying to make that deal throughout the week, but he's one of the few. There's no reason for us to keep voting, keep allowing these speeches that just degraded and diminished and insulted Kevin McCarthy. We didn't have to keep doing that. We could have just adjourned for the whole week and just kept negotiating.
Yeah.
And so that's where the heartburn is. And that's
Heartburn.
what I want people to know. This deal was easy. That wasn't the hard part, right? There's not as much disagreement as everyone thinks on how that rules package went by and what some of the new changes needed to be. The only thing I'll disagree with this group on is that it could have been done earlier. And so that's what justifies the animosity that occurred all week. It seemed very, very pointless.
All right. And so that is iPatch McCain, who is saying very, very pointless. Now, we'll see, because we are going to take a look at the rules in the next segment, in the next video, if you're watching this on record. But we're going to go through all of those rules. We're going to take a look at exactly what's coming up. The weaponization subcommittee is something that was negotiated. The official rules have a lot more. They've also got an $87,000 or 87,000 IRS repeal provision, right? There's all sorts of stuff that came out of this, and we're going to go through all of that. But the bigger question, of course, is about this gridlock. Is it really a problem if Congress doesn't work fluidly? They are not able to get stuff done. Justice Scalia, may he rest in peace, one of the best Supreme Court judges in history, gives us a little bit of a history lesson on gridlock in America and why it's so important.
And, the Europeans look at this system and they say, well, it passes one house, it doesn't pass the other house. Sometimes the other house is in the control of a different party. It passes both. And then this president who has a veto power vetoes it. And they look at this and they say, it is gridlock. And I hear Americans saying this nowadays, and there's a lot of it going around. They talk about a dysfunctional government because there's disagreement, and the framers would have said, yes, that's exactly the way we set it up. We wanted this to be power, contradicting power, because the main ill that beset us, as Hamilton said in the Federalist, when he talked about a separate Senate. He said, yes, it seems inconvenient, but inasmuch as the main ill that besets us is an excess of legislation, it won't be so bad. This is 1787. He didn't know what an excess of legislation was. So unless Americans can appreciate that and learn to love the separation of powers, which means learning to love the gridlock, which the framers believed would be the main protection of minorities. The main protection.
It's a good thing.
If a bill is about to pass that really comes down hard on some minority, they think it's terribly unfair. It doesn't take much to throw a monkey wrench into this complex system. So Americans should appreciate that, and they should learn to love the gridlock.
We do. I do. I know you do.
It's there for a reason, so that the legislation that gets out will be good legislation.
If it has to go through the crucible in order to get to the other end, that means it's probably really good, really needed. It's not just whatever Congress wants to just shove down the gullet of all of America. They just say, well, throw in another few billion for my pet project here and there. You want every single person, you want one person like Matt Gaetz, one single individual to be able to say, nope, sorry, and stall the whole process. Scalia, of course, knew that. Many other people know that, except many, I guess, commentators out there in the media. But after all is said and done, we have a conclusion. Matt Gaetz says it's time to come together and move on.
Quoted as saying the construct of these rules concessions functionally turn the speakership into a ceremonial position. Do you mean that?
Well, Speaker McCarthy is our speaker.
Whoa.
And long live the speaker. I look forward to working closely with him. But he did agree, to his great credit, to democratize power to the membership. Oftentimes, these committees that decide what bills come to the floor, what the spending paradigm is, they're controlled just by people loyal to the speaker. Now what we have is a real representation of all of the different viewpoints within our conference. On the Rules Committee, on the Appropriations Committee, we fought hard to get agreements to have conservatives on those committees, to have our budget hawks on appropriations, and I can't wait to see what we're able to do when we unlock the potential of all of our members going forward.
What about the
Long live the speaker, says Matt Gaetz. Very interesting. And so you can see it's making everybody better. It's like when you're on the same team, if you've ever played sports, sometimes you have that rival, that other kid who's like, gunning for that top spot. You might beat the crap out of each other in order to win the starting position, but you both become better as a result. And that's exactly what happened in Congress. Matt Gaetz sounds like, hey, he's the speaker now, right? I'll fall in line because we got some of the things that we want. We'll see how it works. Hopefully we are able to get some good progress for this country because Lord knows we need it. So that is the updates in the Speaker of the House battle. McCarthy finally gets his gavel, and we will, of course, continue to cover this. Thank you for hitting that like button and subscribing wherever it is you're watching this, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. But we're not done here yet, my friends, because we're just going to carry this right over into the conversation about the new agenda. And before we jump into that, let's pause and see what Congress is doing over there from C-SPAN. This is our friend Scalia, who is always fun to listen to. Let's see what he has for us.
Is broken. And not just is Washington broken, but the way that this House has been running for the last few years has not been designed to address the problems of the people across this country. In fact, we've seen many of the problems that families are facing across America created by the things that have come out of this Congress, signed by President Biden. Why is inflation running away? Because spending's out of control. Because bills appear by dark of night, bills that nobody's read that are thousands of pages long, where members aren't even allowed to give input in committee, on the floor, to address problems they know their constituents will face if these bills pass. And yet the bills are passed because they're written in rooms behind closed doors by a small number of people, not concerned about the consequences that will affect so many millions of people across this nation. Mr. Speaker, for a long time, we've been saying this needs to change. In fact, we ran on an agenda to change the way that Washington works, to fix this broken system, to get our country back on track, and we were awarded the majority by the people across this country. And so today starts that process of fixing what's broken in Washington so that Washington can finally start working for the people of this country who are struggling. And so let's start with one basic thing, is reopening the people's house. For years, the American people were shut out of coming and seeing their government work. In fact, with proxy voting, which, by the way, ends in this rules package, members of Congress have to show up and work again.
All right, so that's Scalise, and so
Just look at the bill
that was actually from
passed a few
earlier.
weeks ago, the omnibus spending bill.
They're waiting on votes.
$1.7 trillion of dollars.
They're counting votes, and so we'll just move that aside and check back in on that and just jump right on into my into the second segment here. Let's just dive right into it. The Republicans take control of the House, and they unveil a new agenda, and we can see it's all detailed for us, and it looks pretty interesting, actually. Something for everybody. This is over from docs.house.gov. This is text of bills for the week of January 9th, 2023, starting the new year hot. Now that we have a Speaker of the House, you can see a bunch of stuff in here. What do we have? Family and Small Business Taxpayer Protection Act. We're going to take a look at that one. which is now added officially as H.R. 23. That's going to be the bill that removes the 87,000 IRS agents. We also have a new select committee. The Republicans are forming their own select committees. Hopefully they're less illegal than the Democrats was. And this one's going to be about strategic competition between the U.S. and China, the CCP. Interesting. We also have protecting America's strategic petroleum reserve from China. Will be a fun one. Prosecutors Need to Prosecute Act, addressing the woke prosecutors. That's H.R. 27. That got added on 1/9. We have H-Con Res 5. This expresses support for nation's law enforcement agencies, and it condemns any efforts to defund or dismantle law enforcement. This is also Born Alive, the Abortion Survivals Protection Act, which is also available on this website, which is, I'm trying to link it over for locals, but I screwed that up. Hang on a second. Did I just end? Hang on a second. Sorry about that. I think I X'd out on a stream. Okay, we're back. Press the wrong button. Okay. All right, we're back. I pressed the wrong button over there. Hopefully we're back on. Okay, so what else is going on in Congress? We also have the Strategic Production Response Act. We have the Border Safety and Security Act. We have the Illegal Alien Alert Act. We have the No Taxpayer Funding for Abortion Act. We have many things that they are diving into. And of course, we're going to take a look at some of these in a short minute now that I have my links all fixed up. But we have a couple things to dive into first. Kevin McCarthy says that they are coming in hot. And one of the first things they're doing is addressing this big spending bill that brings in 87,000 new IRS agents.
I know the night is late, but when we come back, our very first bill will repeal the funding for 87,000 new IRS.
All right, right on. Get rid of them. We don't need them.
You see, we believe government should be to help you, not go after you.
That's a good concept. While you're at it, why don't you get rid of the rest of them? 87,000 is a good start. How many are there total? Keep going there, Kevin. Keep going. Because if the 87,000 out there are bad and destructive, what do you think the others are? Just kidding. I love the IRS a lot. I pay my taxes and I love the IRS. All right. He said that's okay. All right, cool. We're good. All right. So that is something that they are coming after hot. And this is the bill. This is exactly what was submitted. You can see that's over this one right here. This is the Family and Small Business Taxpayer Protection Act. Got submitted 9:56 a.m. today. And here is what it says. That's the rules. Repealing the 87,000 IRS agents coming into the 118th Congress, now governed by Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy. You see, this is a bill not yet labeled or numbered. It says that the short title of this act is called the Family and Small Business Taxpayer Protection Act. Love that as a taxpayer. It says this is what Section 2 does. It rescinds certain balances that were made available to the IRS. All right. Remember that big omnibus bill and all of these other bills? They just turn bank accounts open, basically these big slush funds, essentially, that they can just dip their disgusting noses into and take money for their own purposes. This one rescinds those funds. The unobligated balances of amounts that were appropriated or otherwise made available in the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022, as of this date of enactment of this act, are rescinded by Daddy gives you the credit card, Daddy takes away. Federal government is fickle. We'll see what Congress does with this. Very short bill. That's what I like to see. 2 pages, barely. Goodbye, IRS agents. We'll hope this one gets passed. We also had another interesting bill that got submitted. Remember that in the Democrats-controlled Congress, they created the House Select Committee on January 6th. But this is also something the Republicans can do now that they're in charge. H.R. 12, establishing a select subcommittee on the weaponization of the federal government as a select investigative subcommittee of the Committee on the Judiciary. Ooh, let's see how this one works. This one's over here. This is submitted by Mr. Jim Jordan, referred to the committee. It's a 6-pager, also coming out of the 118th Congress, now governed by Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy. The resolution says this would establish a select subcommittee on the weaponization of the federal government as a subcommittee of the Judiciary Committee. Section 1. There is hereby established for the 118th Congress a select investigative subcommittee called the Weaponization of the Federal Government. Now, remember that when we read through H.R. 503, which is what created the January 6th Select Committee, they had some very interesting language in there that we were able to untangle over the course of a long period of time and show that they weren't even following their own rules. Let's see how this resembles that. The composition of this weaponization committee. The select subcommittee shall, remember that word, not may, shall, it's obligatory. It shall be composed of the chair and the ranking minority member of the Judiciary Committee, together with not more than 13 other members, right? A hard number in there. Delegates or resident commissioner appointed shall be appointed in consultation with the minority leader. Now, some of this resembles what we saw on the J6 HR 503 committee. 13 members. This one says the speaker shall designate one member of the select subcommittee as its chair. Any vacancy in the select subcommittee shall be filled in the same manner as the original appointment. Each member shall be appointed to the select committee shall be treated as though a member of the Committee on the Judiciary for the purposes of the select subcommittee. And, you know, they'll fight for that one. So, in other words, I don't see a situation where the Democrats are going to say, why don't we give you our 2 worst Congress people who are not even Democrats, who are practically Republicans, and we just give them to you on your committee? Now, what is this committee going to do? So the composition, right, you know, with the J6 committee, we fought over composition all the time because it was illegally constituted. There were not 5 Republicans on there. Okay, 5 shall be appointed in consultation with the minority leader. That's exactly the same language that we saw in HR 503, which was what created the J6 Select Committee. But they didn't do that. They said, well, we kind of did consult with Kevin McCarthy, and he just kind of said he didn't want to nominate Jim Jordan. He didn't want our people couldn't be on there. And they just said, well, we'll just take Kinzinger and Cheney then, and that's good enough. So they violated their own rules. You know, we'll see what the Republicans do. I mean, if the Republicans wanted to play fair, they would just say, no, we reject all of your appointments. Thanks, though. No, thanks. Literally, right? They'd say, no, thanks. We'll take your 2 worst Congress people and we'll put them on this committee. And you guys can just pound sand and eat dirt. And if they file lawsuits, who cares? Because the courts don't care. The courts have already said this historically. We don't care. The House of Representatives can do whatever the hell they want. That's separation of powers. If they want to govern their committees with 2 Republicans, so-called, instead of the 5 that the law says that shall be by their own HR resolution, right, by their own House resolutions, nobody cares. So the Republicans, you know, if they were playing fair, if they were fighting fire with fire, they would allow this. They would just say, yeah, this is what we'll pass. We're only going to allow 2 on, though, because that's exactly what the Democrats did. All right, so what's this committee going to do and investigate? The select subcommittee is authorized to and directed to conduct a full and complete investigation and study of not later than January 2025. What? 2025? Oh, gosh. Complete an investigation and a study by 2025. Great. Issue a final report to the House at that moment. All right. So that's like, 2024 election's already well underway. So we'll get a report after that. Neat. It's going to issue a final report to the House, including its findings regarding the following things. 1, Sub A, the expansive role of Article 2 authority vested in the executive branch to collect information and otherwise investigate citizens of the United States, including in ongoing criminal investigations. Okay. Provide a report on that. The expansive role, I guess how it is expanding. I get, illegal wiretaps, all of the sort of gobbling up of data, how the FBI is encroaching on you, censoring you, all of those things. I guess that would be included in that. The expansive role. Also, how executive branch agencies work with information from and provided to and from the private sector. Oh, we got a little bit of Twitter collusion going on. Nonprofit entities or other government agencies to facilitate action against American citizens, including the extent to which any unconstitutional or unethical activities were engaged in by the executive branch or the private sector against citizens of the United States, which of course they were doing very, very aggressively, in fact. And we've covered that through all the Twitter files, and we're covering Twitter files 12 soon. How executive branch agencies should also be included in the report. How they collect, compile, analyze, use, disseminate information about citizens, including any unconstitutional, illegal, or unethical activities committed against citizens of the United States. All right. Well, so they're asking this committee to investigate the government, and you know how that always turns out. The government is typically investigating itself and said, well, we're pretty good. We're pretty good. We give ourselves like an A-, on this one. The laws, programs, and activities of the executive branch as they relate to the collection of information on citizens, any other issues related to the violation of civil liberties of its citizens, any other matter relating to the information collected pursuant to the investigation under this paragraph by Congress. Okay. Now we also, so you can see very broad, right? Not anything really specific. Like the distinguishing this from the J6 House resolution that created their committee. Theirs was a very specific, event, and anything leading to it or anything after it and everybody involved in it. This is much broader. I think that there are some pretty key things that they should key off of. How the FBI literally was interfacing with social media in particular, Hunter Biden stuff. But I guess they probably wouldn't want to put all of that in here. Let's see what else is here. Now, the authority, they say, the select subcommittee may report to the House or any other committee in the House. The procedure is as follows: how they get recognized, and the sunset. The select committee shall cease to exist 30 days after filing the final report required under subsection B. All right. So very broad, right? Investigative functions. It's going to take us all the way till 2025, so we won't get any information anytime soon. Now, I guess that's kind of a good thing, is they can just, if they actually pass this, and this actually turns into a committee, and this actually resembles something like the January 6th Select Committee, then I guess they could investigate whatever they wanted, right? And they could just continually do the stupid little drip thing that the J6 committee was doing. And then at some point, probably right around, I don't know, October 2024 would be a good time for hearings, October 2024. That way they could have all the hearings, and then they could, issue their final report, maybe like, November, and then boom, then they could finally wrap up their affairs and then sunset in January. Perfect. That'd be great timing. Maybe that's what they're planning for. We'll see. But that is something that I'm excited about. I'd love to see them investigate the FBI and figure out what all of these intelligence agencies were doing, because I think it was massive and extensive, and nobody has gotten to the bottom of it, which probably means this won't pass, because looking at the intelligence agencies means, they'll hit you 6 ways from Sunday, as Chuck Schumer said. All right. So that is the other interesting bill that was dropped. We can see there's a lot of other stuff that is out there as well, but we just finished time over in the House. And so let's check back in and see if there's anything.
Right to access abortion.
Anything
and for people
interesting
to have
going
the
on
basic
here.
Freedom to make decisions about their own bodies with
Time
medical
expired.
professionals and without the interference
Republicans,
of
yay.
extremist politicians. In every state
211,
where abortion was on the
Democrats,
ballot,
nay,
the American
205.
people called for freedom and bodily autonomy. And now House Democrats.
The previous question is ordered. For what purpose does the gentlelady from Connecticut seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I have a motion to commit at the desk.
The clerk will report the motion.
Ms. DeLauro of Connecticut moves to commit the resolution, House Resolution 5, to a select committee composed of the majority leader or the minority leader, with instructions to report the same back to the House forthwith with the following amendment. At the end of the resolution,
Mr. Speaker,
Clerk will suspend. Gentlelady from Connecticut.
I ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading.
Without objection, the motion is considered as read. Without objection, the previous question is ordered on the motion to commit. The question is on the motion. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The noes have it. The motion is not agreed to. Gentlelady from Connecticut.
Ask for the yeas and nays.
Yeas and nays are requested. All those in favor of the vote by the yeas and nays will rise. Sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. Pursuant to the order of the House of today, this is a five-minute vote.
All right.
And the House now voting on giving the minority party a last opportunity to change the rules package. If this motion to commit is defeated, a final vote on the House rules would then take place. Later tonight, members will take up legislation to rescind $80 billion in IRS funding approved under the Inflation Reduction Act.
We just read that bill. Thank you for that summation. We needed that. She's my co-host, whoever that was. Shout out to my C-SPAN co-host. Great job. Appreciate you teeing me up on that one. Amazing. All right, so they are going to get their final tallies in on the motion to commit. As she said, that means they're going to come back and vote on the full rules package at some point, which is great. That means we've got plenty of time to take a look at it and see what they have in store for us. This is the latest rules package down here. Added. Adopting the rules of the House. Here, directly from the website, the most recent. Now, this is a large document. Let's fly through it. 55 pages. The House rules. Adopting the rules of the House of Representatives for the 118th Congress. They say, the rules of the House of Representatives, including the applicable provisions of laws, are as follows. Here are the changes to the standing rules. And just like we see, you know, when statutes are modified every time we have elections, they're not releasing all of the rules. They're telling us what the changes were. Now, the first one, Section 2, changes to the standing rules. The first one is initiatives to reduce spending and to improve accountability. I like the sound of that one. This one says, cut as you go, except as provided in other paragraphs. It shall not be in order, okay? It shall not be in order. It's illegal to consider a bill or a joint resolution if the provisions have the net effect of increasing mandatory spending, right? It's not in order to consider a bill if it increases mandatory spending. Sounds good to me. Now, there's certain exceptions to this for the purposes of this clause and so on. If a bill or a joint bill or an amendment is as follows, there are exceptions to those rules. We have another section. This is called requiring a vote on raising the debt limit. They're going to add a different section. They say that an amendment to a general appropriation bill shall not be in order if proposing a net increase in the level of budget authority in the bill. An amendment, if it increases it, if somebody says, actually, I will have a side of fries with that when it's coming through. Actually, I will. I'll have a side of fries. You say, no. It already came with your number 3. You don't get another one. All right. Sorry about that. Limitations on increases in direct spending. It shall not be in order. It's illegal to consider a concurrent resolution on the budget that would cause an increase in net direct spending. Beautiful. No spending. Some serious limitations on it. Now, we also have to increase the threshold for tax rate increases, right? If we're going to increase taxes, they need a vote of not less than 3/5 of the members voting, right? So 3/5 standard. In order to get over that threshold, 3/5 standard. Sounds good. We want more speed bumps on limiting people from increasing the spending in Congress. A lot more rules here. They want estimates of major legislation. So an estimate provided by the CBO for any bill that comes through. They want that included. Here's a segment on the subcommittees on investigations. Some details on this. Right, this is pretty thick stuff. You can see these are the actual rules, right? It looks like literal statutes. Now, I think there was also a summary of this. Let's see what this looks like. Maybe it's a little bit more digestible. Here is what the official summary is from the House rules. Here's what they say. Section by section, they're going to improve accountability and cut spending. We read through most of those. Increase the threshold for votes. We saw how those worked. 2-minute votes. So a different subsection is going to provide that the speaker can reduce vote times to not less than 2 minutes. They're going to modify the calendar. So they say that there is now a 72-hour notice requirement. The committee authorization and oversight plans. Unauthorized programs. When developing these plans, the committees shall do this, that, and the other. They want cost estimates from the CBO. We saw that section. Ethics reforms. They want an investigative subcommittee of the Committee on Ethics. Interesting. They want a committee on oversight and accountability designated, designating a committee on education and the workforce, subcommittee on agriculture, cybersecurity, modifies the jurisdiction of the Committee on Homeland Cybersecurity to include functions of DHS related to cybersecurity, sharing jurisdictional interest in those functions. That's interesting because a lot of that is very relevant. We talked about CISA, Christopher Krebs, all of those people who were sort of in control of a ton of money. And they were the people who were actually interfacing with, well, I mean, via the FBI with all of the big tech platforms, right? DHS was totally involved in a lot of that. We have the record votes, access to the hall of the House, strikes language providing governors and the mayor with access to the House. So, sorry, Mayor Muriel Bowser from Washington, D.C., you're not welcome in our House anymore. They're also issuing a resolution declaring the office of the Speaker vacant. Strikes language to allow any member to offer a privileged resolution. Reinstates the Holman Rule. Holman Rule allows amendments to appropriations legislation that would reduce the salary or fire specific employees. All right. There's also restoring legislative branch accountability, requirement for single subject bills, question of consideration for germaneness. The question of consideration is debatable for 20 minutes, budget matters. It's a lot of technical stuff. Remote appearances of witnesses, deposition authorities, documents, war powers resolution. This is interesting. So members, if they are sued for discrimination, they have to pay for those claims. They will reimburse the Treasury for any settlement of a complaint related to discrimination. They'll have to pay that money back. Good. Not using our money to fund their settlements. Transparency reforms. reduction of unauthorized spending, numbering of bills. Oh, we've got committees here. This one would establish a select subcommittee on the coronavirus pandemic. Subsection A would establish the Coronavirus Pandemic Committee on Oversight and Accountability. This would investigate, make findings, and provide legislative recommendations on the origins of the pandemic, including the government's funding of gain-of-function research. Interesting. The use of taxpayer funds and relief programs to address the pandemic, the effectiveness of laws and regulations to address the coronavirus pandemic and prepare for future pandemics, the development of vaccines and treatments, the impact of closures of schools on American children. On this one, Speaker, 12 members, delegates, no more than 5 members may be appointed by the minority leader. We also have a House Democracy Partnership, Human Rights Commissions, Congressional Ethics. They're also talking about a bill to rescind certain balances made to the IRS, a bill to authorize the Secretary of Homeland Security to suspend the entry of aliens, a bill to prohibit the Secretary of Energy from sending gas to China, a bill to amend the Omnibus Crime Control Bill, a bill to require instant criminal background checks to notify ICE whenever there is a criminal illegal alien or whenever somebody's trying to buy a firearm, a bill to prohibit taxpayer-funded abortions, and a bill to prohibit healthcare practitioner from failing to exercise the proper degree of care for a child who survives an abortion. All right, so a failed abortion attempt. They also say that subsection E, a select committee for the CCP committee, and another one on the weaponization of the federal government. Both of those we've talked about. They say that subsection H also allows the Speaker to recognize a member for the reading of the Constitution on any legislative day through 2023. All right, so this is the summation. Obviously, a ton of rule changes. Some of this stuff is impactful to all of us. Some of us, it's probably just mechanical stuff that exists in Congress for, their efficiency and allows them to do what they want to do. But they are just about to finish up with the vote. You can see there is 18 seconds remaining on the countdown timer. Let's see what else is happening there. Are they going to pass this thing or not? Three, two, one.
Come on, members, voted.
Time's up. Clock's ticking. Let's go. On agreeing to the resolution, one Republican voted with the Democrats. Who was that person? 219 to 211. So it looks like they'll commit. Voice of the People says, never forget how they locked you down and said that they wouldn't take it because of the orange man. Never forget how just doing my job was the answer for draconian action. Good comment there from Voice of the People. Yeah, and a lot of Republicans were responsible for that too. A lot of these people. A lot of lockdown fever out there. A lot of people asking for forgiveness, exoneration for their prior tweets and their prior positions, without even really taking full responsibility. They don't really recognize what they've done. All right, so they're just taking their sweet time over there in Congress. Somebody's screaming in the background there. We're now at 219 to 212. Voice of the People with another super chat said, never forget how the National Guard was turned away for January 6th due to optics. But they bring them in for the African delegate that we didn't know was even coming. Or how Pelosi had her daughter filming and said, I've been waiting for this. She did. She said that. I've been waiting for this. Yeah. And it's either the intelligence community, the FBI, DHS, Congress, Metro PD, Capitol Hill PD, House Sergeant at Arms, Senate Sergeant at Arms, National Guard, everybody at the DOD, all of them. Incompetent. Grossly incompetent. Worse than your worst nightmares. Or they kind of wanted it to happen, I think. Just saying. Shout out to Voice of the People. Thank you for the 2 super chats today, my friend. All right, he's back at the podium. Is that the podium that Chansley almost took? Or that the other podium guy almost stole from all of us? Let's see what we've got.
Longest vote, the yeas are 220, the nays are 213. The resolution is agreed to. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. Go.
All right, so more procedural stuff in the House of Representatives. So they're going back to count and do some more voting, evidently. But that, my friends, is what we see happening in Congress. So we've got the repeal of 87,000 IRS agents. We also have Jim Jordan, and I forgot to click over to this article, talking about the new weaponization committee and the effort of McCarthy and others to go and investigate big tech. Axios tells us House Republicans plan to launch a new investigative panel this week that will demand copies of White House emails, the White House files. Memos and other communications with big tech companies, top sources tell Axios. Kevin McCarthy plans a quick spate of red meat actions and announces to reward hardliners who backed him through the fight. The new panel, called the Weaponization Panel, the one that we just talked about, says that House conservatives requested the subcommittee. McCarthy granted it as he worked to wrangle votes. They're hearing that the subcommittee will be chaired by House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan, which is great news because Jim Jordan is a monster, the good kind, and we like him. A close McCarthy ally and a favorite of the hard right. Oh, is that what they're calling us now? The probe into he's the only person asking for answers from the FBI and the DOJ. Is that what the hard right is now? Asking for answers of the government, which is become hard. The government has. The probe into communications between tech giants and President Biden's aides will look for government pressure that could have resulted in censorship. The request for documents will also be followed by compulsory process, including subpoenas, they say. Jordan wrote letters to top tech platforms. We've covered almost every one of his letters. I mean, literally, I think we went through 1,000 pages of them, that one show. The subcommittee's top target is what Republicans call the politicization of the FBI, including scrutiny of the investigations of Russian interference in the 2016 election. The subcommittee is also going to look into Anthony Fauci and his approach to COVID misinformation and disinformation, the Justice Department's interaction with local school boards on masking and other COVID policies, and DHS's failed efforts to create the Disinformation Governance Board. White House spokesman tweeted last month, House Republicans continue to make clear they're focused on pointless political stunts, okay, instead of working with the Biden congressional Democrats to take on issues that Americans care about, like tackling inflation. Yeah, maybe they should spend a couple more $1 trillion on that. And that will be useful in combating inflation. So Jim Jordan, I'm looking forward to it. The weaponization of the federal government subcommittee, very hopeful to see that go into full swing and full effect. If you want to keep up with what Congress is doing, you can go over to docs.house.gov/floor, and you can see exactly what's out there. It's updated on the daily, and you can follow along. There'll be many more bills that come out. You can see this one, H.R. 27, Prosecutors Need to Prosecute Act, probably going after some of those woke prosecutor and political policies. And there'll be a lot more. So when they're saying the Republicans are coming in hot, they're hitting it hard, it certainly looks like that. And we're pretty excited to see it. We'll continue to follow it. Thank you for joining us as we do, hitting that subscribe button, follow along wherever it is you're watching this, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. All right, my friends. Now, before we jump off of here and go check out the Twitter files, let's pause and just check out our sponsors over at 4patriots.com. Look at this. At 4patriots.com, you can go here and you can use code Robert to get 10% off anything you see here. Look at this survival food. It's hand-packed in America. If family-owned business, it's outstanding food. And you'll get it delivered to your door. It'll be stored for 25 years, and you will have survival preparation handled. You won't have to think about it. When everybody's crashing into each other at grocery stores, trying to fill their carts with canned food and stuff, you'll be safe and secure. You can go over there. They've got a 3-month survival food kit. It's everything you need right there. And you can get 10% off. Just go to 4patriots.com, use code Robert, and save, and get that delivered right to your door. You'll be as happy as this young lady right here. She just knowing. She goes, that's no problem at all. Everything's safe and secure at 4patriots.com. And of course, our friends over there will take good care of you. Thank you for checking them out. Okay. And that, my friends, is where we're going to wrap it up on the day on the show. Now, we are going to jump over to Rumble and to Locals and to Twitter and carry on and talk about Twitter Files 12, which just dropped. But first, let's go back to the House.
Speakers delivered to the clerk a letter dated January 7th, 2023, listing members in the order in which shall act as Speaker pro tem under Clause 8B3 of Rule 1. The chair lays before the House a communication.
The Speaker's Rooms, Washington, D.C., January 7th, 2023. I hereby designate Representative Steve Scalise of Louisiana to exercise any authority regarding assembly, reassembly, convening, or reconvening of the House pursuant to House Concurrent Resolution 1, Clause 12 of Rule 1, and any concurrent resolution of the current Congress as may contemplate my designation of members to exercise similar authority. In the event of the death or inability of that designee, the alternate members of the House listed in the letter bearing this date that I have placed with the clerk are designated in turn for the same purposes. Signed sincerely, Kevin McCarthy, Speaker.
The chair lays before the House a communication.
The Speaker's Rooms, Washington, D.C., January 7th, 2023. I hereby appoint the Honorable Patrick McHenry, the Honorable Adrian Smith.
All right, so they're appointing a
Robert
bunch of people
Whitman,
as
the Honorable
second in
Andy
commands,
Harris,
as lieutenants,
the Honorable
and
Richard Hudson.
the people who are going to be doing a bunch of stuff. But we are done here for the day on YouTube. Let's take a quick pause and say thank you to the super chats that came in before we take off for our Rumble, Twitter, and Locals continuation of the stream, which we will get into the Twitter files. And of course, they are pretty pandemic heavy. So that's what we'll be doing over there. Melanie Schwartz kicked us off here to start the show. What's up, Melanie? Thank you so much for the super chat. Says, I think they need to repeal a lot of that garbage in the omnibus bill. A lot of it. Yeah, it's a good call. How much? Like 1.64 trillion of it? Probably. We'll leave a 0.01 trillion in there for us. Thank you, Melanie. I think a lot of the government could be essentially repealed and would be great. We had those two from Voice of the People. Thank you very much, Voice of the People, for those two generous comments. Says, never forget how they locked you down and they said that they disagreed with certain things because of Trump. Never forget just doing my job was the answer for draconian action. They did that all over the place. And never forget how the National Guard was turned away on J6 due to optics. But how everybody else was filming and seemingly just waiting for this. Bear Ashby says, same BS Congress. They all need to go. Well, it's about right. It feels better, though. It sounds better, certainly. We'll see what they're able to produce. Good to see you, Bear Ashby. Thanks for the super chat. Voice of the People says, also never forget how McCarthy played the Clinton role and demanded they fall in line to walk lockstep. They trashed reps for not doing anything, then trashed for people standing for you, and then trashed people standing for you. Yeah, another good comment from Voice of the People. And it looks like Voice of the People might be a nice YouTube channel as well if you want to go support their work there. But it is certainly true, right? McCarthy was pretty brutal too, is what it seemed like. Matt Gaetz says they were literally threatening us, right? So I think both people had the knives out and they were both shanking each other. And then they come out. McCarthy, though, comes out and he does play the good guy more than Gaetz. Gaetz was openly knifing him. McCarthy was not openly knifing back. But thank you for that one also, Voice of the People. Very generous of you, and I very much appreciate that. But that, my friends, all right, that's it for us on the YouTube and the Facebook. We're talking Twitter Files 12. We're going over to Rumble. We're going over to Twitter, or you can join us on our community at Locals, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We're going to sign off here in just a quick second and get into Twitter Files. The links are all in the descriptions wherever it is you're watching this. So if you're in those other platforms where we can continue to have free, open conversations, hang tight. If you're on the other platforms, we will see you later, my friends. We'll be back here tomorrow to do it all again. Have yourselves an amazing evening, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow.